Ovlov Bud's album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. Here tonight to chat about this latest from Ovlov, Newtown, Connecticut-based, sort of cult classic of the modern era in indie rock and emo. Growing up on the East Coast, specifically Long Island, like I did, and going to record stores in Connecticut, Ovlov to me always just seemed like this mythical, just strange band that your French friend told you about. They had a cult fan base as well as their debut album M. And you know what? The album is awesome. It is certainly, definitely a very good cult classic in these genres. It is scuzzy, it is hazy, it is passionate, and most importantly, it has a lot of really great influences. It seems to be reaching into the proverbial cookie jar of pop punk, emo, indie rock, even some garage rock and shoegaze. But shortly after, all things Ovlov went pretty quiet. They had a hiatus, some reunion shows, a small breakup. We didn't hear from them again until 2018's True, though, and honestly, I thought it was a pretty solid album. It seemed to have everything that made their M album just as legendary as it was, but it also had a lot more energy to go around. I will say this though, leading up to this album, I was a little disappointed with some of the singles. Most of this album though is just kind of Ovlov doing what they do best. Not for nothing, Baby Shea is a fantastic start. It is upbeat and crunchy and hazy and punky and all that reverb. Oh, hell yeah, that's good. This is kind of like right where we left off with them at the end of their last album. It is just chaotic enough as well to just get you up and moving a little bit. It's got that energy to it. But it's also harmonious enough to stick with you. And as always, I think the major selling point here is just how passionate these performances are. Leading up to this album, I think that Eat More is the track that really stuck with me the most. I love how calculating this track is. Love that big crunchy riff as well. But like most of what makes Ovlov's first two albums so enjoyable is the list of influences here. It is a little emo. It is a little garage rock oriented. There's some elements of indie rock thrown in here as well, but at the end of the day, this just kind of sounds like home when it comes to Ovlov. It is a really great start, a very simple track, and that guitar solo when that comes roaring in, hell yes. This is, I think, all around like a perfect Ovlov track. Strokes, on the other hand, this just really takes me back. This is an old school sort of Midwest emo inspired track with a great driving riff and some real passionate performances once again. And you know what? I'm going to say it, a lot of this album is wildly not outside the box for Ovlov and their style. But it is an inspiring, emotional anthem from a band that, puts that together very well. And I love Cheer Up Chihiro as well. I love the super blunt, crunchy riff on this track. It's so big sounding. This is dense as hell, but it also really doesn't sound like anything else we get here from Ovlov. I love the catchy hook. I love the sort of half-stone delivery that we hear here. The dreamy atmosphere is great as well. And shout outs to that saxophone part that comes in towards the end. I don't know where it came from, but I personally would love to hear a lot more of that. As a matter of fact, I'd love to hear more in the veins of this sort of heavier sound from Ovlov. And More on Part 2 is one of the more graceful tracks here. It opens up with this very nice, very serene piano part, but it ends up opening up into really crunchy, noisy, sort of noise pop jam. And as far as vocal performance goes, I think this is probably my favorite track here, which leads me to some of the lesser moments on this album. Number one, this album is short as hell. It's been a few years since we heard from Ovlov, but we get 8 tracks here, and they clock in at 24 minutes. I feel like we could have gotten some more material here. Not only that, but some of the other singles leading up to this album are real reasons for me to concern about their future. Land of Steve-O, man, I can't remember the last time I was so turned off by an Ovlov track. I don't know why, but I just feel like this track is so unbearably average. It's just a little too lackadaisical for me. It's a little too slacker-oriented. It sounds like it's got nothing to fall back on, like if you tipped this over, it would just crumble in a heartbeat. And take my word for it, it's one of the least catchy tracks here. I think it's the worst track here by far. And the Wishing Well, I have a lot of the same feelings towards. This is so entry-level Ovlov, if that makes any sense. Just so cookie-cutter, has no edge to it whatsoever. And Feel the Pain as a finale is the longest track here, and it's not a close margin here. Like most tracks here are like 2.5 to 3 minutes long. Then we get this plus 5 minute track as a finale, and it just really does not deserve it, honestly. It's by far the most uneventful track here, just so safe. It's fine, but in a way that I just feel like it doesn't cut it. It's just nothing that I haven't heard, but so much better on the rest of this album. And honestly, they're so much better written, a whole lot catchier than this. This is a tough one because, you know what? There's a good hunk of this album that's very enjoyable. It sounds like home as far as Ovlov goes, and that's not a slight. As a matter of fact, you know, it's really catchy, well written, and emotional, like some of their best stuff. But the sheer lack of material here, it's short as hell, and just how bad this album can get at times is enough to raise a big red flag for me. I'm feeling a light 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.